And then she just gets in the car. But I'm not even mad because we get this iconic photo.
So good. I love her for who she is, like her poise, organized confidence. Like I aspire to be that regal and put together.
Welcome to Posh and Plastic, the Y2K nostalgia podcast. Here's Amber and Kylie.
Wind up, wind down, and let's hit rewind. And today we're going to get into one of the icons of the 2000s, Paris Hilton.
We want to give a quick trigger warning before we get into the episode. We're talking about Paris Hilton today, and if you've kept up with her over the past few years, you know she's opened up a lot about some of the things she's survived, including abuse, sexual, physical, mental. So we will be talking about that today. If this is one you want to skip, we'll see you next week for Gossip Girl. But if you want to stay, Jumbo.
Right. We'll start with our hot goss, though. So I'm trying to think, like, God, what's been in the news recently? I mean, I told you, I don't know if I mentioned it on the last week's episode, but I saw that Ashley Tisdale is also pregnant. So we've got two High School Musical alum. And I was disheartened to find out that they're not super friendly anymore. You had told me, which I didn't really keep up with the two of them over the years.
Obviously, I don't know the tea because I don't know them, but Ashley kind of sided with Austin, whatever his name is. She sided with him. And when they broke up, her and Vanessa just stopped being friends, which we've only known them to be friends, but it's fine because Vanessa's out here living her best life.
Fair. Well, and I read something somewhere too that apparently Ashley and Austin are distant cousins, supposedly.
Yeah, but they didn't know that until after the fact that her and Vanessa weren't friends anymore. I watched the video where they found this out. They were doing an ancestry promotion video.
Oh.
And so they took a DNA test, but they're I don't know, probably 20 generations back. You and I are related that far back.
Oh, okay. Well then, the fuck? Who cares? Literally. Okay.
Yeah, people keep being they're cousins, and it's yeah, but not Karen and Seth.
What else has been in the media recently? Anything that I've seen?
I mean, it's kind of calmed down a little bit, thank goodness, because last week was crazy with Diddy and Nickelodeon.
That's what I'm saying. It's been oddly quiet. I think that's why I'm reaching. I'm is there anything? I'm no, everyone's staying quiet. But I guess then we can roll into, since we haven't had much media. So what have you been binging this week?
I've been binging adventure, if you will.
Oh, do tell.
We've just been out and about a lot. We went to Hilton Head this past weekend. And then we've just been out, walking and whatnot a lot outside. The weather's nice. I'm trying to catch my tan. Which I have the light on me right now, but I'm really dark. That photo, the photo we took for the cover, I did not. I was oh God, everyone's going to think I saturated myself on that, but that's legit. I am dark.
Literally going to say, I was this bitch is tanner than me. How? No, but literally when you sent me when we were deciding which one we were going to do and I saw it, I was this bitch is not this tan. Are you kidding me? Because I'm as pale as a ghost right now for me. And I don't have any plans of getting any tanner anytime soon. I work in an office 5 days a week.
My Portuguese is showing finally, because living in Arizona, in the hot months, you can't go outside. You're going to die. Mm-hmm. So now that I'm here in Georgia, I'm just oh, give me the sun. We've been walking around the neighborhood. There's this little offshoot in our neighborhood. And it takes you to a lake. So we've been walking by that. And then we found this little area behind our library that has this other lake with turtles in it. So we were obsessed over that. And then I found like this random walking path / hiking trail thing. And it's not marked or anything, but I just saw and I was like, is this a hiking trail? And I just started walking on it and Nicholas followed me. So we went on a hike today that was not planned.
Unplanned hikes are always fun. I love that. Your binge was better than mine. I'm still binging television, honestly, but I've been binging Vanderpump-esque shows. So we've got Vanderpump Rules, who's in currently a new season. Then there's the spin-off of it, The Valley. And then
I've never heard of The Valley.
So it's a spin-off where it's got it has Jackson, Brittany, and then Kristen, all from Vanderpump. And then it's got a bunch of other people too. And then on what day was it? Monday of this week, April 1st, Vanderpump Villa released on Hulu.
Okay, I've seen ads for that. Yeah.
It's also on Disney Plus too, apparently, which I'm going to be going to Disney Plus to continue watching it because I'm pretty confident I'm ad-free on Disney Plus, but I'm not on Hulu. So
is all of Hulu on Disney Plus?
no.
That's a random thing to
That's
add to
what
Disney
I said.
Plus, especially considering we did not get grown-up Lizzie McGuire. I'm still pissed.
I'm still mad about it. This makes no sense as to why it's on Disney Plus. But I'll also say this is also a second binge I've had lately has been going to Disneyland. We've been going pretty much every weekend because our pass is about to end, and we're deciding whether or not we're going to renew them or not by the end of May. So we've just been going nonstop. And I saw a poster for Vanderpump Villa and I laughed because I was like, what the hell is this doing here at Disney? Turns out they were advertising it for Disney Plus, but I didn't realize it at the time. But it made what?
What is
I don't
Disney
know.
doing?
But they have Taylor Swift too, which
yeah, I saw that.
I won't be doing it. Okay. Are you ready to hit him with the...
Yes. We'll get into our game, New Phone Who Dis. This week's quote, I have no sympathy for you because you let it happen to yourself.
Ooh.
I don't know if you're going to get it, but when we wrap up and I reveal it, you're going to be like, oh.
I have a guess. I don't know if it's right, but it...
Okay, I'll edit it out.
I think my guess is Spencer. I feel like it's him yelling at Stephanie at the barbecue.
Okay, you're very close, but you're wrong.
Damn. Okay, that's fine.
So we'll leave this in.
Okay.
But let's get into it, guys. We're here to talk about arguably the queen of Y2K, Paris Hilton.
I'm so excited to talk about Paris, honestly. I've gone through stages with my knowings and love and hates for Paris Hilton, I think, over the years, just because of the way she personified herself over the years and then kind of the different things that I learned. So it's really interesting. I'm kind of excited to get into everything,
Yeah. I was watching somebody else's, a YouTube documentary, if you will, on her today. And, with some of the things like being friends with Brittany and Lindsay and whatnot, I kind of realized I never formed opinions on their tabloids when I was a teen.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brittany hitting the car with the umbrella and shaving her head, or Lindsay being called a fire crotch. I would watch it and I would live to have all these updates and watch E-News and all that. But I never was oh, Brandon's crazy, or oh, well, I never liked Brandon, but I wasn't oh, Paris is wrong for that, or poor Lindsay. It just was, and I don't know, I just consumed it without opinions, and now I'm older and I have opinions.
I guess that's I think we got so much thrown at us around this time too, right, that it was hard to kind of form an opinion about everybody. I was kind of telling you how even, for example, not only were there so many people of pop culture, but there were also a lot of feuds going on. It was really hard to keep up with like the map of like influence and I don't even know what you call it. I guess it would be just influence, right? Of all these people that just kind of boomed at once.
Yeah. Those wild times.
But before we get all the way into it, I kind of wanted to give a quick rundown of like the main Hilton family that we know. I'm not going to go through like the grandparents and all that because it's like it's all over the place and honestly a little bit boring, but I'll give us the main Hilton so we kind of know who we're talking about. So to start off, we have the matriarch, Kathy Hilton. She's the mom. And but she's got her mom, who was Big Kathy, aka Kathleen Dugan. And she had 3 girls. She had Kathy, and then she had her sister Kyle and her other sister Kim. So there were 3 girls, and the mom pushed all 3 girls to marry wealthy. That was literally her main goal, was to marry off her daughters rich. And she pretty much succeeded she did succeed. So Kyle, the youngest, was married off to some older billionaire guy who she ended up divorcing at some point. Kim was married off as well, but she was married off a couple of times, but she also was married off rich her first time. And then, of course, we've got younger Kathy Hilton, we know, who, of course, married a Hilton. So obviously married off rich as well.
You know, I was listening to Paris's podcast yesterday.
Oh.
And she had her Aunt Kyle on there.
Ooh.
And I didn't realize that she and Kim were child actresses.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, well, Kim more so than Kyle. Like, Kyle ended up doing it, and I think her big break was like Escape to... No, it was
Witch
Will
Mountain.
Yeah, that was Kim's. I'm sorry.
Kyle played the younger version of her.
Oh,
so
that's
like when
right.
they would do flashbacks. Yeah.
Thank you. Keep me in line on that, because that's the part where it's a little fuzzy for me. But then I know Kyle also did Little House on the Prairie.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what she did for a while. But yeah, basically the whole thing with Kim was she ended up becoming the breadwinner of the family. There's different stories. Some people say no, that their dad also is making good money, supposedly, but I don't know. I know there's a book called House of Hilton. I've yet to read it. This guy wrote it. I saw it on Amazon, but apparently it's got the juicy details behind like kind of how the sisters are the way they are. And apparently Big Kathy, their mom, was not amazing. And, you know, some things happen.
Not surprising.
It all trickles down, right? So,
yeah.
Oh my God, was that Simba?
No. Oh, Paris fell. Look, fell.
She was unhappy with us talking bad crap about this.
She was like, bitch.
And then just to give a little backstory on Kim and Kyle Richards, for, you know, those who know, they were both on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, you know, and they had some good juicy deets of the family on the show throughout. Kyle eventually, in the first season, calls Kim out for being an alcoholic, which leads to Kyle and Kim having to work through Kim's addiction issues. She ends up coming forward and saying that she is an alcoholic, and I think an addict to potentially, I think it was pills. So she had a rough one. They have a rough go around with that. It's kind of all in the media, and I will say it probably wouldn't have been unless Kyle wouldn't have called her out first season. Nobody would have really noticed it, and they would have just thought that Kim was kind of kooky, quirky, silly. It would have thought nothing of it. Also called out on the show were whispers of turmoil between Kathy and Kyle throughout seasons, because Kyle's quote unquote spoken out against the family or done things that Kathy didn't agree with. Because I would really say, like, once their mom had passed, which I think was around like 2007, so this was before even Beverly Hills, like, Housewives came out. I think Kathy Hilton kind of took on the motherly role, not only for like the matriarch of her side of the family, but also like of Kim and Kyle as well. So that kind of added to the push and pull.
That's weird though, because they're grown women at that point.
No, trust me, it's beyond to me. I don't know why she even puts up with it. And she still does. But I will say also, again, for those who know, Kathy was also on Real Housewives of Beverly Hills for one season. But she got basically pretty much roasted afterwards by all of us, I would say. she started out as a fan favorite, but then shit kind of went down when she had a big kind of meltdown that happened in Aspen after a camera stopped recording, stopped running. People speculate that it was probably recorded and that Bravo or Andy Cohen or somebody has footage of it somewhere, but because she's a Hilton, that there's been some kind of background of like, hey, you're going to keep that. We're not going to release it.
Money was paid.
Yeah. And there's also indications of potential racial slurs inside a club at a DJ. So there's some other stuff that's going on here. So, because the thing that really sucks is Kathy came in as a fan favorite. She was fun. She was quirky. She was silly. She was very much kind of like Kim when she first came in. But then she took a hard right turn. So.
Gotcha. I know there's videos of Paris just wasted in a club with some slurs.
Yikes.
Yeah, like back in her party days.
Yikes. I believe it, honestly. So I guess unfortunately the apple was not far.
Yeah.
Okay, but yeah, so that was Kim, Kathy, and Kyle and their mom. Sorry. I had to give that whole, everyone else would be a lot quicker, but I feel like they've got a lot going on there. And then we've got Rick Hilton, who was their father, and of course the one that ties them all to the Hilton Empire. He's the grandson of Conrad Hilton, who was the founder of the Hilton hotels. And then we've got their kids. So we've got Paris, the oldest daughter. And I wrote it here and I mentioned it to you too, but I did not know she was the oldest. I legitimately, all these years, I thought Nikki was the older daughter. Like, I always thought she was the oldest.
That's what I thought too. I think Nikki just presents herself that way, but I always thought that until her documentary came out and she talked about it. And I was like, wait, Paris is the oldest?
I guess it was the documentary and I forgot again, because then when I listened to her book, when I listened to it on Audible, she mentions it again and I'm like, oh, why do I keep forgetting that? It's the personalities. It's the way they present themselves.
Yeah.
Then we've got Nikki, who, youngest daughter, she married a Rothschild. I guess they are London bank investors and they're ungodly wealthy, apparently. Good for her. Shout out. She has 3 kids, 2 daughters and a son. And then I know I asked last week, but she's also got 2 brothers. I thought she had 1. She's got 2. So she's got Baron Hilton II, who's the oldest. And then we've got Conrad Hilton. And so that makes up the core Paris Hilton direct family.
Yes, but we want to get into Paris. She's iconic. I mean, really, she was the first influencer.
Yes.
Like, before it was called influencing or being an influencer, like, she was that girl.
Yes. No, and it's crazy because I was thinking about it and then I started like comparing everything to how like she kind of made the first influencer. And I really thought about it and I was like, well, yeah, because what she did is essentially take a socialite and make it become something where like it's like make what you do accessible, essentially, or make the products of what you do accessible to others, right? Socialite plus influencer equals Paris Hilton, literally.
No, literally. Like, she was the first one to be like, I'm going to be Paris Hilton.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go out and live my life, and I'm going to make money doing that.
Yes. It's beyond iconic, right? Because literally, like, no one had done that. Like, everyone was, like, fine with just getting invited to parties to be there, but she wanted to do more. She wanted to essentially monetize for herself off of that, essentially, you know?
Yeah.
It shows her business mind, in a sense.
Which we'll get into later. I mean, she's known for so many things. Like, I don't know. We're like over 20 years of Paris Hilton being Paris Hilton. Like, I mean, do you want to talk about the Mandela effect?
Oh my gosh, I think this one is so funny to me. So, like, we know that she was iconic for her fashion. What she wore was obviously meant to get photographed. And so I think the one thing that's funny is the Mandela effect of the one shirt that she's wearing where she's standing up at the club and she's wearing the pink skirt. And now the original shirt says, "Stop being desperate." But for some reason, the one that circulate, and it was hard to find the Stop Being Desperate one for the record. Because what circulates is a Photoshop version that says Stop Being Poor. And I think for the longest time, I thought that's what her shirt said. And so I was like, of course it says that. Like, you know, I didn't think much of it. I'm like, of course Paris Hilton has Stop Being, like, you stop being rich. Like,
I'm trying to think of seeing this. Like, I've seen like the whole, I can't believe she wore this, and people, it was probably on Reddit, and then someone was saying, no, that actually says desperate. That's a deep fake.
mm-hmm.
I'm sure I saw this photo like as a teen, and it just, I don't know. I probably thought it was funny.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I literally, like I said, I thought nothing of it. It was hilarious to me. But it's iconic because it sticks out. I remember this picture so vividly. Like, I didn't, like, when I was looking to find it again, like, I was looking for this picture where she's like standing with her arms up, like at the club.
She's a fashion icon. I mean, she's an author now. She's got a podcast. However, she's also a musician. We've got to talk about her CD.
Yes.
I mean, I remember when they said Paris Hilton's coming out with music, and honestly, I was like, ew.
Yeah.
But it's so good.
I don't know much of her music, I'm not gonna lie, but I know Stars is Blind, the iconic song, and I loved it as much as I did back then as I do now. Like, I think everyone at first, like, I turned my nose up. I was like, this isn't gonna be good. And then I played it and I was like, hey, I like love this.
Yeah, you're like, I don't want to like this, but I do.
Yeah. It was good. And it's peppy, it's catchy,
yeah, it's a lot of things. It's like poppy but beachy and like fun.
Yeah.
But also romantic. Like, it's a lot of things in one song.
Yeah.
And that it's very timeless. Even the music video it's like black and white,
Mm-hmm.
very Hollywood or LA, I should say. I don't know. It's good. And then she also has the song Nothing in This World. But yeah, the album is interesting. So like starts with like a poppy hip hop vibe for a few songs. Like, we've got Fat Joe on a track.
Oh.
And then we get into like the hyper pop feel that we know, like the Stars Are Blind and the Nothing in This World. And then towards the end, it kind of gets disco-y. But like, they're clumped up. It's not like they're all mixed up. It's like we're going into genres here. So it's an interesting listen.
Okay. And that's her old album?
Yeah, I think that's her only one.
Okay, because when she did Paris in Love and she did a performance, was she creating new music?
Oh,
she had a
yeah.
new song, yeah?
Yeah, it was for TikTok. It was for a TikTok sound. Because I saw the TikTok like right before
I liked that
episode. I'm sure it's a single.
Well, I remember her doing
I think
the
she
TikTok.
did it for a TikTok. Yeah.
Well, no, she did, because I remember she used it a couple of times and I was like, okay, cute.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. You know, but she's Paris Hilton. She can, so she will. I mean, we can't move on without talking about her iconic lines, her like trademarks, essentially.
Oh yeah, the first one's like, that's hot.
Which the one that we know and love, honestly, and then loves it.
Loves it.
But the one that I was gonna say, of all of the ones that I use the most, I would say it's Beyond. Like, I do it all the time now. It's so random. I use it more now than I ever do. Like, I'll be like, that is so Beyond.
But you can use it for good. You can use it for bad. It's such a great term.
I love it because honestly, instead of having to be like, no, I hate that, or no, it's like, no, that is Beyond.
Yeah, it takes less brain work too, because if you're trying to emote something but you don't know the word, you can just say Beyond.
Literally. So I'm like, thank you for that, Paris, because honestly, it's Beyond.
Yeah, you know, she also had some iconic lines in Simple Life.
I think my favorite like scene or line, I guess, that I remember is when they're calling into work and they're laying in bed. It's like her and Nicole Richie, and they're like, "Hi, we can't go into work today. We are tired. I think we might quit the job. Bye, gorgeous."
They were wild in that
Oh my
show.
God. They could never make this type of show again. Like, I think they tried from when I was doing research, but like essentially people were like, no, we don't want to do that. And it's like, that's the whole point of the show.
Yeah. I don't think you could do it with anybody else.
No.
Though. Like, they're the rich girls. And I mean, I feel like Nicole's grown out of that.
Yeah.
You know, she's married with kids and is into health and stuff. But
Yeah.
Paris is very much still that girl. She is in her 40s and she is that girl still.
That's
like,
true.
I don't think you could do it with any modern it girl.
No, I don't think you could. And I think the thing is, it's just the way that they were so funny and down to do kind of pretty much anything. That was what worked. You know what I mean? I don't think because there wasn't social media that was following what you were even doing on TV, right? They could just be funny and silly, and when it came out, it came out. There was no repercussion, really.
Yeah. And they're silly. Yeah, like you said.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
It's
know.
harmless.
Nicole is always funny.
Yeah. Nicole is super funny.
Nicole is funny, and Paris was
Ditzy
like
silly.
Yeah.
No, I saw like one of the iconic lines where she was like, "What is a Walmart? They sell wall stuff there?"
Yes.
And then it was funny because it was pictures, and then they showed the people on the other side of the table being like horrified that she didn't know what Walmart was. So
I wish that was my life.
yeah, I know. I was like, literally, can I be you? Okay, so guys, for those who don't know, which you should, because if you don't know Paris Hilton and don't know The Simple Life, who are you? But we'll give a quick rundown of the show, and then I'll give some stats. So this was not AI generated, if you listened to last week's episode. Okay, I did this month. So The Simple Life is an American reality television series starring Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie. It depicts the two wealthy socialites, like we said, as they struggle to do menial, low-paying jobs such as cleaning rooms, farm work, serving meals in fast food restaurants, and working as camp counselors. And The Simple Life was actually inspired by Green Acres, which was a sitcom about New York society couple who moved to a farm, which I thought was interesting because I didn't know that.
I know the show, but I didn't know it was based off of that.
Interesting. I've never heard of Green Acres.
I don't know if I've watched it, but it used to be on Nick at Night. Like a Beverly Hillbillies, if you remember that one.
Oh, yeah. Okay, interesting. No, I never watched this show. But but also another fun fact too was that I learned this from Paris's book, but apparently they wanted Nikki, her sister, and Paris to originally do the show, but we know Nikki. That is not her vibe. And then we got Nicole Richie and Paris Hilton, which was definitely iconic.
Yeah, that was way better.
Yeah, I don't think it would have done the same with Nikki Hilton. Like, no shade to Nikki, because I think she's, like, I love her for who she is. Like, her poise, organized, confidence. Like, I aspire to be that regal and put together. Yeah, so no shade to her. So some quick stats on the show. So the show premiered December 2nd, 2003, and it ran for 5 seasons and ended on August 5th, 2007. Shout out August 5th, Eric's birthday. The show was created by Mary Ellis Bunham and Jonathan Murray. Like I said, it ran for 5 seasons, but it aired on Fox for the first 3 seasons, and then E for the last 4, like the last seasons 4 and 5. And that's because technically the show originally ended around at the end of season 3 due to the falling out between Paris and Nicole. However, E did pick up the rights to the show for the last 2 seasons, and Paris and Nicole were still contracted in, so they couldn't go anywhere. So they aired 2 more seasons. I honestly, I don't think I watched all 5 seasons, but I definitely felt like it only went on for 3. So I think the 3 is what most people know. I would be interested to see what the E versions look like. I'm going to have to go buy the DVDs or something. I guess you can call it a reverse spin-off that was that curated in 2005. NBC produced a reality series called I Want to Be a Hilton, which essentially took The Simple Life and reversed the idea. So it was hosted by Kathy Hilton, who, as we know, is Paris's mom. And it basically took several contestants from a rural country and suburban areas and had them perform certain tasks from dog grooming to fashion shows and organizing a charity event while learning etiquette and manners. The finalist of the competition received a prize package that included a $200,000 trust fund, a new apartment, wardrobe, and the opportunity to live the life of high society for 1 year.
Okay, I was like, you win an apartment? How does that work? But okay, it's only for a year. Hey, I'll take free rent for a year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that. And the $200,000 trust fund, I get to keep that, right? That's mine.
Yeah.
Take that away from me after a year.
Dang. Oh my gosh. I would, and now in these days to get that, like, oh, you just make yourself an influencer in that year and you're set for life.
For real. But that's funny. That's funny that was a spin-off. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
Do you?
No, I just remember, was it like Paris BFF or Paris Hilton's BFF, which was like a platonic version of Flavor of Love, where she was just like eliminating people to be her best friend.
I feel like
it was after the fallout with Nicole.
I feel like I vaguely remember this.
Okay.
A little bit cunty.
So we have to talk about the Holy Trinity, Paris, Brittany, and Lindsay. So this has been spoken about by Brittany and Paris in both of their memoirs. Backstory, you all should know this, and if you're watching video, the photo is in our intro sequence. But there is a photograph taken by paparazzi of Paris, Brittany, and Lindsay in a car. And this was just iconic that they were all hanging out together because it's like three of our worlds. Like Lindsay's from like childhood entertainment, Brittany's like tween, and Paris's teen, and they're all combined together, all besties as far as we can see. So we all get online and see this photo, and it's just like, oh. Backstory here, according to Paris, she was hanging out with Britney Spears. They were friends. Her and Lindsay were on the outs, and apparently Lindsay just jumped into the car to get away from the cops at that time. I saw a clip of this today, and it was right after Lindsay had claimed Paris hit her. And so Paris was like, Lindsay, and she's like, look, she's right there. Lindsay, tell them the truth. And then that's when Lindsay was like, no, Paris is a nice girl. We're friends, whatever. And then she just gets in the car. But I'm not even mad because we get this iconic photo.
So good.
All we're missing
That's
is
what
Paris,
I'm saying. Like,
she's too pure. But yeah, and Brittany speaks about this moment in her book, but from a different angle. She points out how the paparazzi were trying to make it out like she was coked out, and there was like powder on her face and whatnot, and she's just very insistent that that wasn't going on, and she's never done it. So we got two different details of the story from them. Honestly, like that lives rent free in my head. So I love that they both mentioned it in their memoirs.
I think they knew how iconic it was after the picture blew up. Like if they didn't talk about it, it would be like not addressing the elephant in the room. Almost. And now we just need one more angle for it. And then we've got all the pieces.
Yeah. I would love if Lindsay spoke on that, but I think she's very healthy and living tabloid free, just doing movies here and there and living in Dubai. So I will accept it.
Oh, no. I mean, she's living her best life. She's literally, as Paris would say, sliving.
They've both been through a lot. And come 2020, we learned a little bit more about that because Paris Hilton just said, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, and dropped a documentary titled This is Paris, and it's available on YouTube. So everyone was able to access this documentary for free. And she comes clean and says, I've gone through some things I've never spoken about. And so, from the gate, you are intrigued in what she's going to share. The main focus being about a wilderness camp she was sent to, or, at the time they were being called boarding schools. So they were located in Provo, Utah. And I'll pause right here. If you've been listening and those triggers are going to get to you, this is where we're going to get into it. So go ahead and we'll see you next week if you don't want to deal with the talk of abuse. But Paris goes into detail of being in her room at night in bed and two men coming in and grabbing her. And she really thought she was being kidnapped, but little did she know her parents had set this up, and she was taken to Provo, Utah to be a part of this quote unquote wilderness camp. Basically, you're a labor slave and you're abused in all sorts of ways. She talks about being stripped down and, full cavity search, and they take everything from you and you're basically a slave. She talks about getting out of there and how Paris Hilton went from her identity to also an alter ego for this character she presents to the public. So we get, Paris, and I gotta tell you, I love her real voice, the deeper, it's so sexy.
No,
I love it. And it's sexy, smart,
sophisticated. No, it's a, I guess sophisticated. No, I mean, she's sophisticated either voice. I'm trying to say, what's the word I'm looking?
Distinguished.
Yeah, it's funny because she said having the baby voice protected her, but her true power is in her real voice, because if she uses that, I mean, that's her standing firm and confident. But that really made me respect her when I got to see this is Paris and really see, not that I didn't respect her, but it really gave me an eye opening to who she was, because we learned we didn't really know who she was when we first got this doc.
Right. Yeah. So she shows you this character in the documentary, this is my fake character, and then it even shows the clip with her and Kathy talking, and she falls into it, and you see she really easily falls back into it, and Kathy's knock it off with the fake voice crap. And so I don't know if it's the cameras around her or what triggers it to come out, but ever since she's talked about this, I see it on her show or just in her podcast. She goes in and out of it too. So I don't know what triggers it for her, but it's fascinating.
I know, it really was eye-opening. I was wow, there are more layers than I really thought to Paris Hilton.
And then before her current husband, I mean, she's been engaged a couple of times, but she was engaged right before that. And we see her doing a DJ set at this massive music festival called Tomorrowland, and he throws her laptop because he's mad, and you kind of need your laptop to do this set. And I'm sure it's more now, but back then she was getting paid $1 million per set, so it's a lot of money to lose if you can't perform. So she breaks up with him right there on the spot, says kick him out, I'm not talking to him again.
Good for her, because most women wouldn't be able to do that. They would wouldn't they'd be no, I need him, I'm stressing, I'm about to have this extremely high energy performance, it does, it's okay, what I mean? Girls justify stuff, and she said fuck that, I got shit to do, get out.
Yeah, but I think also Paris has never had anyone to lean on besides herself. So if you're not gonna serve her, you're holding her down. She's a career woman.
But that was, I forgot about that until you reminded me of it just now. And now I want to go back and watch the doc again, because it's been a minute since I saw that, because I've watched all her other stuff recently. But
so yeah, she just kind of gives us that. And then last year, she blessed us with her book, Paris, the Memoir. And it's basically a follow-up of the documentary documentary. She gives more stories, but she also elaborates on what she shares in the documentary, like goes into deep detail of what went on at the wilderness camp, like stories. It's really rough. Like she tried to, like, the escape stories, and like it broke my heart when she talks about calling her Aunt Kyle, and
she rats her out basically. Yeah. Low-key.
Yeah. And I get it because those schools had the families brainwashed, and when you're led to believe like this child has been just so out of control and this place is what's best for them. But I think we all know now, like, if a child's saying, please, I need.
And this is like the 90s, like the late 90s, where it's like everything is still very, like, communication is not like what we have now. Like she said, it was payphones, and like there's no social media. There's nobody like calling things out and saying like what's going on. Like there was no way to know. Like,
yeah,
it's.
So she does advocating for that now, which, bless her.
Which I'm sure is hard, right? Because you have to essentially relive your trauma to help advocate for others.
Yep. Oh, and then, in the book, on a lighter note, though, she also talks about, like, when she got out, she graduated, she got out, and she wanted to be famous for being famous, really. And she told, was the family friend, I think he was, like, their accountant or publicist
like
or something.
Mitchell or whatever his name was. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's like, I just want to be famous for being famous. Like, that's my goal. And I look at her.
Yeah,
she did it.
You know what? People were like laughed at her for doing it. But again, like she paved her way, and people laughed at a lot of people for doing things that didn't make sense at first. But you know what? Who's laughing now? Her.
Yeah.
And guess what? All the way to the damn bank.
The character arc. But yeah, I mean, she went through other stuff too. She was sexually assaulted as a teen, and then the sex tape that happened in her, I want to say she was like 19, so she's still a teenager technically, but that she was pressured into making it while under the influence, very much so, and then, did not agree for it to be released. Yeah, girl's been through a lot.
Yeah.
But she also, it's made her stronger, who she is today. And we also get to hear about how she met her husband, Carter, and then a little bit about Phoenix. And now, she's still trekking on. We've got Paris in Love, her reality show.
Oh, I hope they do another season. So that we got 2 seasons so far. I really hope they do another one.
They will, because now she needs to show London.
Which I wonder if that's going to be when which actually, speaking of news, did you notice that there was a press release that said that they were like just basically not comfortable with showing like the baby's face yet, essentially, like London?
It's probably for TV. I mean, look at the Kardashians. They never speak on anything and let their show do the speaking. She is always posting Phoenix on Instagram, so there's got to be a second season.
That's what I'm thinking.
Coming.
And I saw a TikTok like yesterday or the day before where it was Phoenix, and of course he's everywhere. But then London was there, and you can see like her arm basically, and like you see that she's a baby, but nothing else. Like you can't see her head or anything. But I'm like, oh, baby.
We're gonna see her soon.
Oh, I can't wait.
But yeah, like this show is just everything. So season 1 was very special to me because she's like planning her wedding, and I was planning my wedding at the same time. So for this icon that I've grown up with, like we're kind of going through, even though she's much older than me, like we're going through the same thing at the same time. Like it was really cool.
I love that. I guess I didn't think about that, but that's actually really cool that you can correlate that and think about that now when you think back on it.
Yeah. So I love that. But it kind of gives you like a continuation of the documentary too, because we see Kathy is still refusing to watch it. You get to see Paris going out and doing advocacy work, but Kathy refuses to acknowledge what her daughter went through.
Yeah, that was hard to watch, to know, because it really kind of sheds light on how their family kind of handles trauma and just responds to things. It's essentially that they don't. Which kind of sucks because like Paris is doing all this work not only for herself to heal herself, but also for these other people she's advocating for, and it's bringing up a lot of emotions, and essentially they just kind of don't want to deal with them. It's kind of sad.
Yeah. However, season 2, she kind of comes around. She does watch it, and she's willing to go to counseling with Paris, which, I mean, as somebody who's got parents that don't want to, take those steps and just, I'm right, you're the child, you're wrong. Like, I've got to give her credit for, taking any step, because I know a lot of parents have trouble with that. So,
okay.
She's got a long way to go. Don't get me wrong. Like, there's a lot of room for improvement, but I'm sure it meant a lot to Paris that she was willing to do,
yeah, you know what?
step.
That's fair. The only thing I was going to say that bothered me too is that I felt she carried through was that she owed like she read the book, but it was very clear that she like kind of sifted through the parts that were about her and like read nothing.
She had someone read it for her and like bookmark where she's
so
mentioned.
it was weird for her to like do that, and you knew she was doing it, and Paris kind of knew she was doing it. It was this weird moment where I was like, you should. I almost felt like you should have said no, and it would have made more sense.
And then it was so weird when she's like, that was the ghostwriter that wrote that, right? And it's like, shut up. Like, Paris isn't going to talk about a ghostwriter on her television show. Or it's like, we all know there's ghostwriters, but like, we all know that we're not going to talk about it either.
Like, oh my God. It's like, Mom, seriously? It's like, why would you even say that? We all know she had a ghostwriter. That's fine, but these are Paris's stories. Most people have a ghostwriter to make their stuff palatable or a little bit more flourished. We get it. That's not the point. We know they're Paris's stories. It's Paris. It's like, why would you, come on, Kathy.
Yeah, I wonder if some of the motivation for counseling was also the fact that she waited to show Phoenix until after Phoenix had gotten a little acclimated into their home. I mean, technically the cameras saw Phoenix before Kathy did.
Ooh.
I wonder if that was a wake-up call for her.
Potentially. And I wonder but Paris mentions how she like wanted to do the same thing again, potentially not telling everyone. And I want to know, that's why I'm itching for season 3. I'm like, how did you?
They left us on that. They left us on
red.
Cliffhanger. But okay, we got to talk about this Diamond Baby. It's so
oh my God. Okay,
weird.
which part? Oh my God.
Okay, so for those who don't watch the show, so the first episode, she loses one of her dogs, Diamond Baby. Like the baby gets out, and like we're led to believe someone found her and was like holding her ransom, like a really high ransom, but it was like I don't know, Diamond Baby. So we're like, oh, is it gonna come back? Well, like nothing ever happens, and so we're like, okay, I guess the dog's gone for good. Like they never touched on this again until the very finale, where they wrap up with Carter taking the dog's like hair or whatever and gets 2 clones of Diamond Baby. So she has 2 dogs that are clone dogs, which, I mean, I knew cloning existed, but I didn't know like it actually, like, you can purchase it. I thought we were still in the lab testing it out. But yeah, and she named 1 Diamond and 1 Baby.
I didn't like it. I don't like it for so many reasons. One, it just doesn't feel like something we should be doing. It's not, right?
No,
like we shouldn't
be
playing God like this. I don't like it.
No.
It makes me feel weird.
And like my concern is like, are these dogs? It's so weird to call them dogs,
are they?
But like, are they going to have good health?
Good question. I was just gonna ask, like, are they actually? Like, can we confirm? What is that? Is that a dog for real? Like on top of it, like, I don't know what that is.
That's so
and on
weird.
top of it, like, I have my feelings about cloning, but also my thing is, like, we have so many animals that need love and adoption in the world. Why not go adopt another dog? Like, go give another dog that's already around some love. That's my kind of standpoint on it. I am an advocate for rescue adoption. I think it's super important. I know you are too. So yeah, so that kind of also piece weirded me out a little bit too. And I know she's an animal advocate, so that kind of shocked me that she wanted to take that cloning route when I know she's an advocate.
She's also, all her dogs are full bred, Chihuahuas. So yeah, I know she loves animals.
I mean, but she's also Paris Hilton.
To that, yeah, stop being rich. But yeah, and then the other thing I wanted to talk about with this show, we're introduced to Carter, who started as her fiance, now as her husband. I mean, we'll be a little gentle because it's her husband. We want to be respectful, but things on Reddit.
Reddit does not like him.
I mean, Reddit doesn't like her either, which honestly, it upsets me because they clearly haven't read her book or watched her documentary, and they're very judgmental. And I feel if they understood what she's been through, they can see that a lot of the things she's done were acting out. And as you mentioned, Kathy's very much about the family image, where Paris is kind of like, I'm going to ruin that image because you ruined my life.
How do I feel? I've got mixed emotions about Carter overall, though.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, obviously he makes her happy, but like, I don't know. Like, he's just a little too quiet on the show. Like, it's a facade.
Well, do we talk about the one elephant in the room that we know? Like, do we talk about it? Okay.
Yeah.
So
let's talk about it.
As Reddit knows, and we know, he has a estranged 10-year-old daughter who he does not have any communication or affiliation with. And yeah, she like basically wrote him a letter when she found out like he was marrying and got like I was having a baby. And
knowing that, after reading what he did to like meet her, like they were both at a party and he kind of like was like, oh, Paris Hilton, I'm gonna get her. And then he's kind of like, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, he leaves a question mark for me. And because the thing is, so when I first watched Paris in Love the first season, I was actually on board with him before knowing all this stuff. I was like, wow, like he's quiet. He lets her live her life. He lets her be in the spotlight. He doesn't really care. He advocates against Kathy for her because she can't speak up. Like all these things. I'm like, wow, he's doing all these great things. And don't get me wrong, he still does a lot of great things for her. But then you add all the additional information that you know, and it gets really murky. I don't know.
Yeah.
I question, like, because also, as I don't know how to put this, but I don't know, we'll see. So we know Kathy is obviously invested, much like her mother was invested in her daughters of who they're going to be married to. We know that Nikki got married to a Rothschild. Like I said, that's a London banking company, super wealthy. His family is wealthy in some sense.
So it says it's Armstead Industries. It is a private enterprise. I guess I can just Google Armstead Industries. It is a global diversified manufacturer of industrial components for rail, commercial vehicle, automotive, and construction and building.
Yeah, but he's always like doing meetings. I don't know. It's weird because I feel like he's like always doing work, but he's also like never doing work, like on the show. I know we almost slept on this, but then I remembered because it kind of almost falls through the cracks. So we have Cooking with Paris, which was her little limited series that she did on Netflix. I believe it came out in 2020. And she basically cooked with all her celebrity friends. Like we got to see Demi Lovato and Kim Kardashian come and cook with her. God, who else was on there? I can't even remember now. Those are the two that stick out to me because those are like her besties. But it was really fun to watch because basically, everything in her kitchen is pink and everything she cooked with, she wanted to have pink as well. And it's just, you basically watch an adult version of childhood dream cooking, which is so fun to me. Like, she's got all the glitter, all the sprinkles. I'm like, I want that kitchen.
And then she released her cookware, so you can have that kitchen if you want.
They sell it at Walmart.
Walmart, I've seen it at Ross. Like, it's kind of
really?
right
Okay,
now.
I've only seen it at Walmart so far, but I haven't really been like looking for it. I just like stumbled upon it one time.
I know, it's so cute. Every time we walk by it, I'm like, oh, if I were a single gal living by herself.
I'm like, Eric, you want a pink kitchen in the future?
I think that, I mean, we could go on and on. And she's going to come up more throughout our podcast. But, I mean, we're going to leave it there. Just kind of a quick run through. But, yeah. We'll circle back around to our new phone, Who This. So the quote was, I have no sympathy for you because you let it happen to yourself. So you guessed Spencer Pratt. I told you no, but you're very close. So one more chance. Do you have any other guesses?
Let me think. I'm close. Did it to yourself. Did Brody say it to Spencer?
No. So this was actually on Laguna Beach. It was Kristen to Jessica. So Kristen Cavallari.
Oh my God, yes. Yes.
About Jason. She's like, I have no sympathy for you because you let it happen to yourself.
No, it's funny because I'm like, you said it was close. And so I was like, okay, I feel like it's adjacent still. So I'm like, I feel like Brody would have said it.
It's
I'm
in
like,
that
I feel
universe.
like Brody would have said it to Spencer too. I'm like, all of these things could have happened at some point.
But okay, guys, thanks for tuning in. If you wouldn't mind giving us a rate and review, and if you are on YouTube or audio, please subscribe, like the video, all the things. Be sure you're following us too on social media. We're Posh and Plastic everywhere. We've got some fun stuff on Instagram. I'm working, and they'll definitely be out before this episode airs, but we've got some Spotify playlist, 100 songs on each. So whatever mood you're in, if you want to be in Limited 2 or Hot Topic or whatever, we've got podcasts for it, or we've got playlists for it. But we will be back next week, and we're super excited about this next episode. What are we talking about, Amber?
Oh my God, my favorite show ever, Gossip.
It's literally her favorite
I'm
show.
so excited.
She had me watch it back in the day, and she's always referencing it. So it's like, it's time to do Gossip Girl.
I can't wait, guys.
Well, until then, XOXO.
Gossip